maybe take us back to that weekend a couple weeks ago when you had that big PR and what you thought of that, and what got you to that point where you were able to throw that much further.
Yeah, it was kind of just an accumulation of the past year. A year ago on that day, I actually had a UCL surgery, and so just coming back from that, and I think the biggest part of what made it happen was just the time put in the off season, and the people that really like our trainers are actually so good, and coaches that we had, during the off season look at form of throws before the surgery and stuff, and just constantly working on that. And then leading up to it was just just do what's natural. You've been training for this a long time. I kind of rebuilt my entire form after my surgery, and so I just got it nailed down, and then had so many just teammates and coaches cheering me on, wanting to come back. It's super exciting. And so yeah, just having a lot of people supporting me was, I think, the biggest part that made it happen.
Was your previous form maybe the culprit in how you got injured?
It was kind of just a one slip up. I was just on the runway and happened to shorten my steps at the end because I was running out of space, and I just lowered my arm a little bit. And I don't think it was too much blame on the form, but I also recognized that if I had the form I had now, that wouldn't have happened.
Was that an injury in practice?
Yeah.
What was the grind like recovering? Were you discouraged? Were you trying to stay positive?
It was actually not that bad. Obviously, I was super bummed because I was really excited for that season. I'd been practicing really well, and I was this is gonna be my season. And I'm gonna start, scoring points, really helping out the team, being a team player. And so that happened. I was really bummed, but just having family and teammates and all that support was just made it really doable. And literally, our trainers. I was here during summer, rehabbing 2 hours a day. Our trainers made it super fun, and it was I don't know, just the program here is so good that everything they have makes even rehab enjoyable. Obviously there are hard days, and there are days where I'm just oh my gosh, I don't want to do this right now, but just all the things that pour into it just makes it worth it.
What's the vibe around the team? How excited are you guys to compete this weekend here?
Yeah, we're super excited. It's gonna be pretty much, we have this home meet, and then some people are at Twilight, some people, I don't really know exactly what's happening with that. And our next meet is pretty much nationals. So we're all this is time, this is time the Hayward Magic. This is the meet for that, This is the time that we can show all our biggest fans, what we've been doing.
Is there a different vibe going into a meet like this, where it is a scoring meet, it is a competition against other teams?
Yeah, absolutely. Normally, it's all about, chasing marks, trying to qualify for regionals. And while that's important here, there's also that secondary motivation factor of it's you look at other people and you're I want to beat these people. Our coaches are expecting, certain points out of us, and, that's our job. So we need to be doing that, and that gives just a lot more team camaraderie, because you're thinking about not just your individual marks, but hey, yeah, I just finished my event. I'm going to go over there and get one of the hammer guys super hyped up to, to try to score. So.
Is that what happened to you during the meet when you threw that huge PR? Were people psyched for you?
Yeah, there weren't really many. There were no throwing events going on at the time besides Javelin, and they actually let people out on. So they were 20 minutes or 20 feet away from the runway, and everyone's come on, Jackson, come back. And so it was just having them all there hyping me up was just a huge part of it. Yeah.
And were you surprised by the distance at all? 20 feet is
a
huge amount of PR run.
I wish I don't want to sound too cocky or anything, but I wasn't that surprised by it. I've been throwing that in practice. I've actually thrown fire that a couple times in practice. So stay tuned for the rest of the year.
What have you been throwing in practice?
What was that?
What have you been throwing in practice?
We'll leave that till later.
We could see another big jump though.
Let's say we'll hope on it. You never know. It's especially Javelin's a wild event. You never know what's gonna happen. One good meet, and then suddenly you could have just a huge PR. And then there's some bad meets where you can just bomb it, and it all depends on that day. So you never know.
So you said the last Friday, or next season, 2 weeks ago, when you threw that was actually on the anniversary of your surgery?
Yeah, it was literally the day of 1 year.
And then, so when were you back throwing?
Well, that's throwing javelin or softballs, because basically what the rehab program was a long rehab with bands and going through the motions and stuff, and a lot of strengthening. And then probably I started throwing softballs really lightly about 4 months afterwards, maybe. I don't know exactly the timeline of it. And then we would just work up distances, work up weights, and eventually, javelins I was probably throwing 9 or 10 months later.
Okay.
Yeah, and then full weights was probably was probably at like 10 or 11.